There's something about summer break in 1987. It wasn't just time off, it was freedom. Pure, unfiltered freedom. No smartphones, no schedules, no digital leash tying you to the world. Just that first hot morning where school felt like a dream you didn't have to go back to. And you just knew, the next 3 months were yours. The summer of '87 arrived with a certain electricity in the air. Maybe it was the music. U2's With or Without You floating from open car windows, Whitney Houston declaring she wanted to dance with somebody. Or maybe it was just that particular shade of blue the sky turned when you were 12 and nothing mattered except the present moment. The calendar emptied and possibilities stretched out like the neighborhood streets, endless and unexplored. The routine. You didn't need an itinerary. Just cracked open screen doors, the hum of cicadas, and that first blast of cold air from the freezer when you opened it to grab a popsicle. You see, there was a rhythm to it. Wake up late, not because you were lazy, but because you could. Pour a bowl of cereal that doubled as a science experiment halfway through. Run outside barefoot, not caring about the pavement heat or the fact that you hadn't brushed your teeth yet. You'd ride your bike without a helmet, not because you were reckless, but because no one told you to be scared. You'd hit the arcade with a crumpled $5 bill in your pocket, stretch it like it was gold, and the rest just fell into place. Mornings bled into afternoons with no clear divide. One moment you were watching cartoons, legs dangling off the couch. The next, you were pedaling furiously down the street because someone had spotted the ice cream truck 3 blocks over. Your mother's voice, "Be home when the streetlights come on," was both boundary and blessing, the gentlest form of supervision that existed. The neighborhood became your kingdom. Every drainage ditch, a river to be conquered. Every vacant lot, an undiscovered country. You knew where the best climbing trees were, which yards had dogs that would chase you, and exactly how long it took to bike to the convenience store where they didn't check if your hands were clean before letting you handle the penny candy. Back then, time felt slower. Like the world was in no rush to change. There weren't a dozen apps fighting for your attention. You didn't need a curated experience or a filter to make your day look good. Your summer didn't live on the internet. It lived on your skin and your scraped knees and sunburnt shoulders. It was in the music blasting from a neighbor's boombox, in the smell of chlorine on your skin and charcoal in the air. Summer break in 1987 wasn't content. It was a feeling. And the truth is, we didn't realize how rare that was. We thought it would always be like that. In '87, the world was still analog. A busy signal meant someone was using the phone, not ignoring your text. News happened at 6 o'clock, not every waking second. Parents didn't track your location. They tracked the sound of the screen door slamming. And somehow, we all survived. This was the summer The Lost Boys hit theaters, teaching us vampires could be cool, when Nintendo was still magical and beating a game meant something, when a mixtape took actual time and love to create, each song carefully recorded off the radio, finger hovering over the record button, waiting for Casey Kasem to stop talking before your favorite song began. The thing about that kind of summer, the real kind, is that it wasn't about entertainment. It was about existence, about being a kid, in a world that hadn't yet demanded you grow up fast. You see, back then, being bored was part of the plan. It had to be. Because that boredom, that's where the best ideas were born. Blanket forts, street-wide water balloon wars, pretending the world ended and you were the last survivor, with nothing but a flashlight and a peanut butter sandwich. And maybe that's what we've lost, and that space to be aimless, to be unreachable, to not perform for anyone but yourself. There was safety in that anonymity. When you fell off your bike, scraped your knee raw against the asphalt, there was no audience except maybe the kid next door. No one documented your embarrassment. Your mistakes weren't preserved for eternity online. You could reinvent yourself between June and September and no one kept receipts. At night, you'd lie in bed with the windows open, box fan humming, sheets kicked off because the air conditioning couldn't quite keep up. The day's adventures played behind your eyelids as you drifted off. That home run you hit in the vacant lot. The secret hideout you discovered in the woods. The way your crush smiled at you at the community pool. These moments weren't shared. They weren't liked or hearted. They just belonged to you. If you lived it, you don't forget it. Summer break in 1987 wasn't just a time on the calendar. It was a mood, a mindset, a tiny universe we got to live in before everything got complicated. Before growing up meant checking emails and chasing algorithms. And maybe, just maybe, there's still a piece of that summer inside you, waiting to be remembered. It's there in how you still slow down when passing a sprinkler on a hot day. How a certain song on the radio can transport you back to those endless days. How the taste of a particular flavor of ice cream makes you 10 years old again, if only for a moment. We carry that summer with us, Not as nostalgia for a simpler time, but as evidence that we once knew how to live completely in the moment, before we learned to document experiences instead of having them, before we started living through screens instead of screen doors. That summer taught us something we're still trying to remember, that the best moments aren't planned or perfect or posted. They're just lived. So what was your 1987 summer like? Was it the music? The mischief? That one unforgettable day you still think about? Drop it in the comments. Let's piece this summer back together, one memory at a time. Or maybe your summer freedom came in a different year, a different decade. The details change, but the feeling, that golden sense of possibility, that's universal, that's timeless. That's what we're all chasing, even now. But the thing about summer in '87 was that you always knew it would end. There was something bittersweet about those final August days, when back-to-school commercials started interrupting your cartoons and the evening air carried the first hint of autumn. You'd feel it in your chest, this strange mix of dread and excitement. Remember that last week? How you'd suddenly want to do everything one more time? One more trip to the lake? One more sleepover in the backyard tent? One more midnight bike ride when your parents thought you were asleep? You'd stay up later, push boundaries further, trying to squeeze every last drop from what remained. And then came that final Sunday night. Laying out your clothes for the first day of school, new shoes that hadn't touched playground dirt yet, the smell of freshly sharpened pencils and plastic binder covers. Your summer tan lines still visible as evidence of your adventures. You'd lie awake that night, replaying the greatest hits of your summer freedom. The day you jumped off the high dive for the first time, the night you saw shooting stars with your best friend, that afternoon when the neighborhood kids united to build the ultimate ramp for your bikes. None of it documented except in your memory, more vivid for the lack of photos. These weren't just memories. They were becoming part of who you were, who you would be. Summer of '87 wasn't just lived. It was absorbed into your bones like sunshine. And maybe that's the real magic we're missing now. Not just the freedom or the analog simplicity, but that beautiful ache of temporary joy. The sweetness of experiences made more precious because they couldn't be paused, rewound, or filtered. They simply had to be lived, then carefully folded away into memory as autumn leaves began to fall.